Good morning everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on Popcross Studios. Today we're on part 8 of the Starseed Psyche storyline, a brief history of the Galactic Federation. Let's hop in and see what we can learn in this Galactic textbook.
You can start this series from the beginning using the Starseed Psyche playlist linked in the description, but for now, I'll give a recap on what's happened previously in Starseed Psyche.
Oh, perfect.
After making so much progress in overcoming his anger issues, improving his life, and becoming a member of the revered and advanced Subarwraith Squadron military program, Kaio Adachi faced a day that nearly broke him. The mechanical invaders, so-called the Q-Seracs, attacked multiple wards of Tokyo with new enhanced forces. They injured and killed many Subarwraith soldiers. Kaio saw his fellow squadmate, Sarata Suta, killed in front of him. His closest friend, Chipin Salakali, or Chip, was badly injured, and while Kaio managed to find an undetonated Q-Serac's bomb, when it was brought back to the military compound for study, it detonated, destroying their lead as to who made the Q-Seracs, along with many floors of the compound itself. As if all of that wasn't stress-inducing enough, this all occurred on the fateful day Kaio's spirit guide, Yorick, had told him was coming, in which he would shake hands with both the love of his life and with his greatest rival on the same day. While he had suspicions of who these two people were, he wound up meeting and shaking hands with Phaestriel, a Q-Sidian, the race widely blamed for the Q-Serac's attacks, despite them protesting their involvement, and even being displeased with humans for labeling the invaders Q-Seracs. Phaestriel even told Kaio that he was something called a Starseed, claiming this meant he was once a Q-Sidian who ended their life early so their soul could be reborn as a human for a specific goal or experience.
Yeah.
Kaio also shook hands that day with the inventor of the advanced Subarwraith military tech.
I'm actually still a little confused on that part, but then again, we're going to find out the answer at some point.
Toshiko Yamada, but is now uncertain if she is the love of his life or his rival, and what Phaestriel is to him. Adding one more complication, Kaio learned from Toshiko that she too is a Starseed, but she is of an alien race called the Subarites, and believes Kaio is as well. Hoping to finally clear some of the confusing alien history up, Kaio has agreed to go with Phaestriel to her ship, and let her dump a bunch of alien lore on him. So, let's get to that now in the next chapter of Starseed Psyche.
Lore time!
My mind was going in two totally different directions at once, as I was being led by the invisible Q-Sidian to the edge of the tree line, just off the running paths. On the one hand, I was thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? Am I an idiot? If I get seen with her, I'm going to be tried as a traitor. On the other hand, there was a part of me thinking, I'm about to get on an alien ship and learn stuff that most of humanity probably doesn't even know. Phaestriel stopped, and while her hand was still cloaked and invisible, I felt it press softly against my chest to keep me in place, instantly relaxing me. This might feel a little funny since it's your first time doing this as a human, okay? Before I could ask what she meant, my body became weightless. My feet left the ground, and I floated just off the earth for a second before a light blinked around me. It cleared as fast as it had appeared, and my feet softly dropped back down. Now, they landed on the light blue metal inside Phaestriel's ship. She completely decloaked.
Good teleportation.
Pulling a circular metal device off her body and setting it on the desk. She was wearing the same form-fitting gray and purple attire she'd worn when I first saw her. My idea of what her ship would look like had been pretty influenced by both pop culture and what I'd seen from the outside of Q-Sidian and Q-Serac's ships.
And of course it wasn't
I thought it'd be slick and futuristic with some hologram-style computer systems or something. Instead, what I found was like the basement you'd find in the home of a couple where one person is a hippie and the other is a pop culture nerd. She had two large tie-dye beanbag chairs and a long L couch, sitting on the edge of a shag carpet with a symmetrical wavy pattern of colorful lines emanating from its center. On curved shelves emerging from the equally curved walls, she had rows and rows of books that ranged from fantasy to science fiction to kids' horror books to comic books and manga. On another set of shelves, she had a weird blend of action figures and old-looking relics from various cultures. She had religious icons from various Earth religions. On a smooth white desk, she had a record player, sitting next to a 90s boom.
So that pretty much just says that C is a fan of everything related to Earth, regardless.
Box and a collection of iPods. Beyond that, she even weirdly had rows of jars of sliced pickles next to an old-fashioned refrigerator.
What?
This was all in one large round room with a dome ceiling connected by a round window in the middle above, showing the night sky. I walked through the room, scanning the whole place before realizing
I am
Theastrial was
surprised.
just standing in the middle of the room, watching me. I turned to her. This is all Earth stuff, right? Cusidians don't just coincidentally have all the same pop culture stuff we do.
Yeah.
She smiled and shook her head. No, this is all from your world. Human cultures are so much more interesting than anything we have back on Cusera. So, did you steal all this stuff, or what? She chuckled.
Tell me some positive.
Some was found and refurbished in human waste disposal plants, but much of it was acquired through trades or simply gifted to our kind by people from your world.
Oh,
While your
okay,
media systems
okay.
may make it seem as though everyone in your world has been highly suspicious of our kind since we returned to Earth to try and help humanity grow, in truth, many pockets and communities of your world have embraced the Cusidians and what we have to offer and teach. Even now, while it appears we've been forced off-world by Earth's militaries, in truth, many of us remain on Earth, helping those who trust we're not to blame for the,
Oh.
as you call them, Cuserax attacks.
I shook my head.
That's
Alright, well,
good
that's
to know.
just giving me more questions. So, how do we do this? I could probably ask questions for days and still not cover everything I want to know, but I only have a few hours. I want proof that I am what you say I am. I want to know why you think the Cusidians created humans.
She walked over and pressed her hand softly against the middle space just below my chest.
Before she'd done that,
The
I
solar
hadn't
plexus?
noticed how tense that space had been. But as soon as she touched it, my entire body relaxed in a wave out from that spot. She looked me in the eyes with the gentlest smile I ever remembered seeing, and said, I know being part of modern human culture makes it very difficult for you to trust those you don't know, but I promise
yeah.
you're safe here, and I'll tell you as much as I can in the time we have.
In those short sentences, she made me feel so relaxed I thought I might cry. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. She led me over to the beanbag chairs and sat me down. She sat in the one next to me, but sat more upright, leaning towards me.
I know you're eager to learn
that
more
just
about
makes
your own
sense.
journey to becoming human as a starseed, but to give the full context, I think it's better for me to start when the Cusidians first came to Earth, alright?
I nodded.
Please.
She leaned her head up and said,
Bagesha, please visually represent my descriptions for Kaio.
A very pleasant voice rang back from the ship, saying,
Of course, Phaeastrial. Initiating visual representations now.
The lights in
Oh,
the room
cool.
dimmed slightly, and a pattern of symmetrical waves, like on the carpet, appeared above us. They shifted into an image
Got
of
like a
Earth with
Cortana.
what kind of looked like Cusidian ships approaching it. Phaeastrial began.
The Cusidians of 300,000 years ago were not as spiritually evolved as we are today. They were technologically evolved in a similar way to how humanity is now, but not connected to
Nice.
divine guidance, as my modern people are. That itself limited us in what we could invent in a way we wouldn't understand until a few generations later. At the time, our
Okay.
intergalactic travel capabilities were based purely on the laws of physical reality, and as such, those who used it needed to freeze their bodies and brains on their ships during extended travel, and it took them a few decades to reach the destinations they sought.
Cryostasis, of
A
course.
collective of our ancestors came to Earth using this technology with a selfish aim. They desired to be treated like deities to what they considered to be a lesser race of beings. They genetically altered a species of ape that existed on Earth at the time, granting them more sentience and a level of comprehension great enough to consider the visiting Cusidians to be deities. This is how the earliest
Humanity.
humans came to be. These Cusidians lived out a few
course.
generations on Earth, some simply enjoying the praise and awe shown to them by the earliest humans, and others using clans of humans essentially as servants and workers. They'd take them onto Cusidian ships and teach them to fix, repair, or build whatever the Cusidians needed. While they would do
That's
some
kind of
good
useful.
things for humans, they saw them more as playthings than true sentient beings. These misguided Cusidians even considered bringing humans back to our home world, Cusidia Chuo, to be used as a slave race.
Oh, that wouldn't be good.
Thankfully, across the universe, the core of Cusidian culture was given a chance to grow into our full understanding of the oneness of all things, after being approached by the Yanukai of the Galactic Federation.
Yanukai, that's how you pronounce that name. This is a Yanukai. Okay.
The Galactic
This story just keeps unfolding and it's freaking awesome.
Federation is a collective of the most loving and peaceful beings in the known universe. Imagine if Earth governments were run by some of the most famously peaceful beings ever to grace this planet. Jesus, the Buddha, the Dalai Lama. Imagine a group
Gandhi?
like that working in harmony with technology beyond your wildest dreams and taking direct guidance from the divine on how to move forward and help various sectors of the universe
That would be
evolve
such
into
a
their
dream.
fullest potential. This is what the Galactic Federation is like. They're a collective of beings that are truly heartwarming to be in the presence of. The Yanukai are the race that started this federation. They learned long before most civilizations that the fastest way for any species to live their fullest lives and to invent miraculous technology is by learning how to connect with what is called source energy, the loving force that unites all things. Much of humanity
Kind of like Key in a way.
refers to this force as God, and it can help guide an inventor to create essentially whatever is needed by their people to live the fullest lives they're meant to, and to go through the growth and experience their soul is seeking in the physical form they've taken. It can lead you
That's
to
right.
discoveries the intellect could never conceive on its own. The Yanukai of the Galactic Federation came to the Cusidians of our homeworld, stating that they believed we were at a crossroads. We could either continue to evolve only technologically and always be stunted by what our intellect can help us achieve, or we could be guided to connect with source energy and see that the love that manifests everything in physical reality can help us achieve things beyond what the intellect can understand if we just trust it and allow it to. They showed us how the laws of physical reality may limit the intellect, but they aren't a true limit to us when a loving connection is made with the divine nature that unites us all.
Kind of like how on the Earth there are people that say you can do anything through God.
Connection to source can guide us to experiencing
In this
true
case,
miracles.
that's true.
A year earlier, I definitely would have been rolling my eyes and looking for an exit at mystical spirit talk like this, but even Argent Angelo had referenced the idea of a source energy in his book, so it wasn't the first I was hearing of the concept. He'd learned about the idea as a way to help encourage him to see people he was angry at as being one with himself, like they were just him experiencing different life circumstances, which led them to act in the way that angers him,
Different
and that he
paths,
would act the exact
crossroads,
same way if he'd
decisions.
lived their life. He'd been told to consider that when he and those who angered him died, their souls would remember that they were just two manifestations of Source or the universe or God, living out different
Just two
experiences in
beings.
the same place. All the anger and hate would be gone, and only their love for each other and everyone and everything else would remain. Angelo said the idea was a bit fluffy even for him, but he
A
also
pinch.
acknowledged that it had helped him in many situations. On top of all that, the fact that I was sitting on an alien ship watching advanced holograms because of a life journey I'd been set on after a conversation with my spirit guide kinda softened any doubts I had. It was even as if I could hear very faintly in the distance
Okay,
Yorick
there it is.
cheering something along the lines of, "Yes! Preach, you goat-footed green gal, preach!"
The Yanukai showed us that when enough trust in the divine source is made within someone,
I can totally hear Yorick do that.
they are then given help in their growth by being able to contact their spirit guides. These are non-physical beings who can then help you live the life you're meant to. They're even helping you when you don't know they're helping you, but it's much easier for them to help when you build a connection to them through your connection to your own soul. They can show you how you're meant to help yourself and your world or people in whatever way your soul is seeking to. It sounds like you've reached this level of connection yourself, correct?
Kind of.
I shifted a bit
Kind of.
uncomfortably in my seat. Maybe a little, but I think whatever connection I have is still pretty weak. She chuckled softly. Having one at all is difficult given the world you've grown up in. As a human, you should be excited by any contact you've been able to make with the divine forces beyond physical reality. Anyway, the
That would be
majority of
true.
my people chose to embrace these teachings, and in only a few generations, the health, well-being, and technology of our planet flourished beyond anything we'd achieved in millennia. We even had
Remarkable.
representatives appointed to the Galactic Federation. Inventing with both intellect and guidance from divine source had allowed the Yanukai to create teleportation technology that could transport ships across galaxies almost instantly, after a charging
Oh.
period of an hour or so. Using
Wait, after what?
galaxies almost instantly, after a charging period of an hour or so.
Oh, that's
Using
not too
this
bad.
far superior technology, the Cusidians of the Federation sought out those of our species that had come to Earth and showed them all our people had achieved since embracing the guidance of Source Energy. They also showed the Cusidians of Earth the error of their ways in making humanity solely to serve their cravings for praise and worship. They left Earth and allowed the Galactic Federation to deem what should be done with humanity. They saw the path humans could be evolving down and made Earth off limits for visitation. Like they had done with my own people, they wanted to allow humanity a period of time to evolve on its own and see if they would find their connection to Source without outside interference.
I take back that down.
They felt guided to allow Earth to temporarily be a place where souls could be born into human form to experience a more difficult life, in a world where you're rarely taught that the loving energy of Source connects you to all things and is always available to support you. Humans would be left alone until such a time came where you became conscious and spiritually evolved enough to be invited to join the Galactic Federation.
And thus a time like that is slowly encroaching on now.
Such a time ever came. You were to be left alone for as long as needed. Unfortunately, not all races of the universe follow the guidance of Source or the Galactic Federation.
The image that came up next, I'll be honest, looked pretty awesome. A being that looked like a humanoid lizard with a mechanical arm and technological augments scattering his body hovered in the air.
The Repsoros are a race that were once approached by the Galactic
Repsoros, okay.
Federation, but these reptilian beings refused the help. They believed with their rapidly growing intellect they could achieve far more than any other race could. They saw intellect and technology as the only worthy path forward, and worshipped it as though it itself were a god. They rejected any idea of divine intelligence that could help them and their world, which was on the brink of dying. They burned through all their natural resources in pursuit of more technological gain. Their own political systems were fueled by hate and greed and manipulation, and their culture was divided and at each other's throats.
Oh shit, it's humanity!
Instead of learning how to heal their world, they chose to try running away from their problems and find other worlds. They separated onto different planets, divided by their various political factions, and briefly found peace on these other worlds. Sadly, because they relied solely on what their minds could achieve, ignoring their own hearts and souls, after thousands of years they'd destroy their new worlds, and would go on to repeat this pattern many more times. Instead of learning from their mistakes, they'd simply find a new world to make them on all over again. For a while, the Galactic Federation just let them be. They don't believe in interfering with those who don't want their help. Like with humanity, some souls may want to incarnate into form as a Repsoro to experience a difficult life in a culture completely disconnected from Source.
I shook my head and interrupted her.
That would make sense.
Why would anyone choose to be born into a culture full of hateful beings that keep destroying themselves and their worlds? She shrugged.
Well, have you ever chosen to play a video game while knowing it was going to be frustratingly difficult?
I immediately thought about the first time I'd played Dark Souls and had literally busted a controller over my knee, then got another and kept playing. Okay, yeah, but there's a difference between choosing to do that for a few hours and spending an entire lifetime in it, right?
She smiled softly. Your soul is an infinitely existing entity, Kaio. The life you live out as this form is essentially similar to you as a human switching on a difficult video game for a few hours.
The idea that I may have chosen my own difficult life wasn't one I was thrilled to accept, but it did line up with things Yorick had told me when we'd met.
Feastriel said, Factions of the Repsoros do occasionally try to invade worlds where other sentient life exists, and in these cases, the Federation will intervene. While they always prefer peaceful confrontations, they do also have connection to a warrior race that can help in situations where diplomacy doesn't work.
And that, I'm guessing, would be the Super Atheist.
The next thing I saw was a squad of blue and white-skinned aliens in armor that looked very similar to the Super Wraith suits.
There it is.
They all had two blades, like I used, and their own weapons could split and grow into dozens of extra blades, well beyond anything I'd seen from a human in the armor. The Suberites are a near-perfect protective warrior race. Their technological intellect is some of the most incredible in the universe, but they have not rejected their connection to Source and its guidance as the Repsoros have. The majority of souls born into Suberite bodies are driven to live out their time in this form, fighting to protect whoever in the universe needs them. There are no male or female Suberites. They are all the same sex and reproduce without any physical connection. They do have a strong sense of community and friendship in their squadrons, but romantic connections are incredibly rare among them, as it is simply not something the majority of them crave. That made me think about Toshiko.
No calling all desires.
If she was a Suberite Starseed, did that mean she'd have no interest in a romantic relationship with me? That certainly gave more credibility to the idea that Phaestriel would end up being the love of my life.
The Suberites have embraced the teachings of the Galactic Federation and
We'll
are
just have
always
to
willing
see.
to help in their endeavors. They do have more violent tendencies than most in the Federation. They are faster to move into physical confrontation to solve problems, but the core of their civilization has proven to be very loving and respectful. They were even briefly sent to Earth a few millennia after my misguided ancestors left. A community of Repsoros had come here, interested in taking control of humanity for themselves.
Oh,
The
damn it.
Suberites had a brief war with the Repsoros on Earth, and dealt with the majority of them, but we always knew it was likely that some remained and had gone into hiding here. The Repsoros are very adaptable and have been known to build communities entirely underground. Many also have mechanical augmentations, as they consider their natural bodies to be flawed and weak. These enhancements often create
That feels familiar to something.
physical ailments for them eventually, but they do allow them to transform their shape and cloak their body to look like other races, meaning they could easily be hiding on Earth as humans without anyone knowing. For all we know, some of the most hateful and manipulative people in your history could have actually been Repsoros, attempting to control humanity's path.
Oh my god, that would make
I
so much
suddenly
sense.
thought back to a post I'd once seen from that page, Q Saviors, talking about how he claimed a bunch of government officials and celebrities were secretly lizard people. I'd left a very angry and insulting comment on that post. I'm not proud of the stuff I typed either way now, but I also hated the idea in that moment that there was even the slightest chance he might have been right.
Yeah.
Because of
he
this,
could
the
have been
Galactic
right.
Federation allowed Cusidians to periodically return to Earth to investigate any Repsaro interference in humanity's evolution, seeing humans as our responsibility, given it was our kind who created you. Occasionally, the Cusidians that have come here have given more help than they were permitted to. Structures such as the Great Pyramids found in multiple places around your world were built with the aid of the Cusidians and our telekinetic abilities. The Federation believed this was
Okay, that
taking our
explains
involvement
that.
too far, though, and using divine guidance, they created a new way for help to be sent to Earth without direct communication from intergalactic races. This was when Starseeds first came into being. When someone feels called to come help humanity, whether they be a Cusidian or Suberite or Yanukai, they may be granted permission by the Galactic Federation to undergo a ritual of premature reincarnation.
Okay.
They surrender their current physical form to be reincarnated as a human, with their soul carrying some dormant memories of their past life to be reawakened at some point during their time on Earth. To put it in your world's spy movie lingo, you Starseeds are essentially like sleeper agents.
Oh yeah.
That was kind
There
of-
you go, sleeper agents. Alien sleeper agents.
An exciting idea to me, but I didn't feel like I totally understood it.
Okay, but why have I only gotten glimpses of memories back? And why did they only happen while wearing the Super 8 gauntlets? Nothing you've said here has triggered any weird flashing images in my mind. She replied, "The Super 8 armor draws energy from Source itself through your soul. The
There
human
you
ego
go.
will often resist this, which is why your emotions are so easily triggered and amplified while using the technology. Because humans are often very disconnected from their souls, wrapped up in their own physical identity and intellect, the memories that the soul carries may not even be accessible when you need them. Many Starseeds may never even have their memories return, preventing them from helping humanity in the way that they were meant to.
Yep.
Like I said
makes
in the
sense.
video game analogy, coming to Earth is like choosing to play a very difficult game, while also forgetting you're playing a game at all. The Super 8 gauntlets drawing energy through your soul helps the memories flow into you when you hear terms related to your past life. The intention is not that you ever regain your full memories of your past life, but simply your connection to our people and our intention
Just
to help
enough.
humanity. Plus, if your connection to your soul strengthens enough, it is possible you regain some of the abilities of our people, such as telekinesis and our ability to create Hikuospheres to guide your way in the dark."
Oh, the lights.
She raised her hand and a glowing pink orb with a ring around it appeared above it. I could feel the warmth emanating from it. "You're saying I might literally get superpowers at some point?"
In a
She
way.
waved her fingers and the sphere disappeared. "In this life it may seem like superpowers, but to Cusidians they are a common ability." I sat up a little bit more excitedly, but also still ravenously curious. "Okay, but if Starseeds are really here helping, why haven't we seen more of them? It can't be that difficult to connect with our souls here, can it?" She sighed.
Be surprised.
"Unfortunately, it can. Humanity has been so disconnected from Source at so many points that when a loving being who tries to spread messages of peace and oneness arises, The human ego convinces you to fear it, and these people will end up being killed. Jesus, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., the list goes
Really?
on.
Even
Whether
him?
any of these figures were starseeds or not, the point is there's a part of humanity's collective subconscious that's not ready to awaken to the loving connection it can have to the rest of the universe and with its true self. The fact that so few starseeds
Oh,
are awakening
wow.
today is why the Galactic Federation has allowed the Cusidians to openly return to Earth. I imagine you've felt a sense that humanity is at a crossroads. It is much like where my people once were prior to the Federation coming to us. Your kind are on the brink of your technology and intellect, allowing you to leave
have
this
a
planet
choice.
and populate other worlds. You've started making technology that will allow humans to alter your brains and bodies in similar ways to the Rapsoros, having some benefits, certainly, but also reflecting a distrust of the divine nature of your physical forms. You've built societal
Oh, boy.
systems, such as your media and political structures, that were well intentioned, but now often cause more harm, division, and hatred than they encourage peace, love, and connection.
Yeah,
Some
that's
humans
a
have awakened to
downside.
this reality and are seeking a new path, but many remain invested in these systems and see most other humans, and those from beyond your planet, as enemies that they need to protect themselves from. It's not yet clear whether humanity will follow the same path us Cusidians did, becoming more connected to other wonderful species of the universe and with source energy itself, or if you'll fall into the same destructive patterns as the Repsoros, finding new worlds, starting over with brief periods of peace, only to soon after face the same problems you currently have.
Make a
I
choice.
can't say for certain why you were reincarnated here, but the fact that my touch has such a calming effect on you proves that you were once a Cusidian. That's the only way to verify a Cusidian starseed for certain. I wouldn't have that effect on a
Oh,
regular human.
okay, well, I guess it does kind of help prove it in a way, but even then, we're not 100% sure. We'll just have to find out.
I stood up and paced around, trying to let all of that sink in.
Yep, super right.
Surprisingly, I wasn't really doubting anything she said. I didn't get any new memories back, but everything she'd said just, I guess, felt intuitively true. Okay, let's say I do
felt
believe all
right.
of that. It still doesn't answer who made the invaders that we're dealing with. I mean, they do kind of look like Cusidian tech, but they're also pretty obviously pulling from some pretty lizard-like visuals, making the Repsoros the obvious suspect, as you said when we met. But even then, it could be somebody trying to make it seem like it's them. On top of that, if Toshiko is, as she said, a Subarite Starseed, why would she have been sent to give us powerful weapons like the Subaraith gauntlets and armor if humanity is supposed to be moving into a more peaceful era?
That would be
Is
true.
it possible whoever sent her knew that these attacks were going to happen? Is there like a registry of every soul and who they would get reincarnated into and for what purpose? I turned back to Phaestriel and she seemed to
Most
be
likely a registry of every soul that did reincarnate instead of those that would and will.
watching me like I was some fascinating nature
never mind.
documentary or something. What? She shook her head with a grin. Humans are just such an incredible species. I wanted so long to be granted the chance to reincarnate as one of you, but was never selected. Being a Cusidian is peaceful, and I'm grateful for the inherent connection we're taught to have with Source, but we have nothing like the extreme contrasts humans get to experience. The swings
That makes you
between
lucky.
hate, love, fear, joy, anxiety, clarity. Happiness is wonderful, but I've always craved to feel it following a period of confusion and terror.
Kind of like a
Happiness
Protoss.
must taste so much more sweet after the bitterness of the pains you go through in a society that teaches you to be so disconnected from yourself. Even this level of anxiety and fear you seem to be going through right now as you attempt to piece this together is more pain than I'll likely face in a year back home. Just her saying
Yeah.
that sent me through a
Yeah.
whole wave of emotions, as if illustrating her exact point. The idea of someone envying the self-hate and anger I'd spent so much of my life in was itself infuriating, but I couldn't deny that the highs I'd had from getting myself out of that stage of my life felt so incredible because I knew what it was like to feel so low.
I just want to feel human, feel everything. The highs, the lows, the mids, everything.
If I hadn't had those lows, I wondered if it really would have felt as good to become happier. She got up from her seat and once again put her hand on my lower sternum. I know you're eager to learn who sent the invaders, but I promise we will do all we can to figure out the answers once we both acquire more information.
I don't wish to belittle your feelings on the matter, but I know for me this experience has been an incredibly exciting adventure already. For now, I
Surprisingly.
acknowledge it is a bit selfish of me to ask this after the difficult day you've had, but could you tell me what your experience as a human has been like? I've watched your people's films and read your books, but I would love to hear it from you directly, Kaio. What has
That's a
life as
good
a human
question.
been like? I knew there were so many other things I needed to deal with, but having someone so calming and gentle just ask me to tell her basically my life story was weirdly too inviting to
Might
pass
as well.
up. I must have spent the next hour telling her, essentially, everything I've told you to this point, albeit leaving out the detail about my handshakes, and the fact that it was possible she was either the love of my life or my greatest rival. I even felt comfortable enough to tell her there was an element of my conversation with Yorick that I was choosing to keep from her, and her response was, "Nobody is entitled to know the communications you've had with your spirit guides
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you
that's
choose not
perfectly
to share
fine.
them. You don't have to tell me anything you don't want to."
Sometimes
That
it's
helped
good
me
to keep
relax
quiet.
into the story even more. As I told it, I could feel Phaestriel's full presence. I don't think of myself as some master storyteller, but the way she was giving me her complete and full attention, I felt like I was Shakespeare debuting my greatest work for the first time. I told her about my
Hamlet.
dad dying, my fear to continue dancing, my anger, then how things turned around when I met Yorick, learning my breathing tactics, meeting Chip, getting back into dancing, getting accepted into the squad together.
Mm-hmm.
Then the grueling Subwraith training, thinking we were ready for war, then watching Suta get killed, the bomb going off in the base. I poured it all out, the good and the bad. And by the
And that's
time I
what
was
you wanted.
done, she was wiping away what had to be the fifth set of tears over the course of the story. Thank you, Kaio. I know it may not seem like it to
That was
you,
good.
given all the pain you've experienced, but to me it sounds like you've already lived a remarkably beautiful life. This is what I find so inspiring about humans. Even though the majority of you are instilled from birth with a sense of fear and distrust and repressed hate that manifests into physical and mental ailments, there are such incredible moments of perseverance that break through the pain. Those of you that refuse to let your disconnection from Source break you and climb your way back towards your divine nature, even when you have no idea how to start or who to turn to for guidance. To
Oh,
be a
yeah.
human may be terrifying at times, but the moments of peace shine through so much more brightly because of it. You're both an incredible human being and a beautiful soul, Kaio.
Aww.
Her saying that got the tears rolling for me too. I didn't really know where to go from there. I knew I should be getting back soon, but
Dude, C has to be the love of your life.
I wanted to
Just
hear about
click.
her own story. This time not to clear up my confusion, but more because I just wanted to know who she was and what her life had been. She eagerly agreed and went on to tell me all about her upbringing on Kyocera Chuo. She had loving, supportive parents and two siblings, an older brother and younger sister, both of whom she was very close with. Her older brother, Corleon, was an Earth historian, and through him and his work, she'd fallen in love with humanity and desperately wanted to come to Earth.
So that's
She
how
told
that
me how
started.
she'd tried to be approved to become a Starseed multiple times so she could challenge her own soul's growth and see what kind of human she'd be. Even if it would be sad leaving her family, the honor of being a Starseed was great enough that her family would be very happy for her to be chosen, though she never got the chance.
That's a
After
bit of a
multiple
shame.
failed attempts to be approved, she was at least accepted, along with Corleon, to be part of the party to come to Earth and help humans with the crossroads we were at. Unfortunately, even then, she was not sent to the most important meetings with humans or given chances to interact directly with them. It was a frustrating
something.
situation as she wanted nothing more than to get to know humans better, and now was so close but still wasn't getting her chance. She
So close, but no cigar.
prayed to
So
her own
close.
spirit guides asking what she should do, and kept getting the message, let go of your need for it to happen now, and know that your time will come. She did her best to do as suggested,
That's all
until
you
the
can do.
bombings began. When the Q-Seracs attacked, most of the Q-Cidians went into the outer atmosphere, or went into smaller pocket communities on Earth to help at least some of humanity away from the prying eyes of major governments and media. That was when Phaestriel's spirit guides gave her guidance she never expected to get.
Ooh.
She was told to seek the truth about the invaders, and in the search, she would live out the experiences with humans that she sought. The Q-Cidians had been told by the
And so it
Galactic
began.
Federation that Suberites would be sent to Earth if the attacks approached a catastrophic scale, but were not to interfere otherwise. In spite of that, Phaestriel followed the guidance she'd been given, took her own ship, left her post, and has been searching for answers ever since, only communicating with Corleon, whom she trusted to cover for her in the meantime. She said rebellion of this kind was extremely uncommon amongst her people, and it had been incredibly exciting for her.
Oh, I bet.
I asked her what specific experiences she was seeking
Probably
to have with
panicking.
humans, and she told me,
I'm afraid, like with your secrets about your conversation with Yorick, I have a few of my own that I'm not yet prepared to share.
Her expression as she
That's
said that
okay.
was a blend of sheepish and sly. I wanted to urge her to tell me, but she had let me keep my secret, so I knew I had to let her keep hers.
It's just being
Ignoring that
respectful.
detail, the more we spoke, the more connected I felt to her. The only person I spoke this openly with was Chip. But thinking about him reminded me that I needed to get back. I honestly could stay and talk way more with you, but I need to go check on Chip in the medical wing, and people are going to be wondering where I am soon.
Yeah, I gotta get
I
going.
really have to go. I'm sorry, Faye. Her eyes widened and a big grin spread across her face.
Faye? Like the beginning of my name? Is that one of your human nicknames? Is it for me?
I chuckled. I just kind of came out. I'm guessing you're cool with it? She rapidly nodded as if it was a thing she was still learning how to do.
Yes, of course, thank you. I feel more like a human already.
She ran over and gave me a big hug. It was both firm and gentle at the same time. She pulled back
This is
sooner than I
nice.
wanted and said,
Oh, and here.
She leapt over to her desk and pulled out a drawer. She grabbed a disc-like device the size of a fingertip and sprang back over to me.
You can use this to get in contact with me, but I'd recommend not letting any of the higher-ranked officials see it. The chief of staff of the Japanese military used to have one before my people were considered enemies, so he'd certainly recognize it if he saw it.
Ah.
I wanted to confirm if she was talking about Shijikaburu, but before I got the words out, she grabbed my shirt and raised it, revealing my stomach and chest. She pressed the device slightly to the left of my center chest and stuck it in place. When she did, her hand then slid across my lower chest and upper abs, and my entire body tensed nervously. I wasn't used to that effect from her touching me. She said,
Oh, that training has made you very muscular, hasn't it? Most Cusidians are very lean, very little body fat, but also little muscle.
Oh my.
I could feel my face going beet red as her hand slowly traveled down my stomach. I stammered.
I guess, thanks.
She noticed me getting flustered and laughed, removing her hand and lowering my shirt.
I'm sorry.
Easy
I forgot
now.
how easily certain human hormones are triggered. She said that, but that was the first time in our conversation I didn't totally believe her. She tapped my shirt where she'd just put the device. You can take that off whenever you need to, but to contact me, simply wear it and say, Contact Phaestriel, or Faye, with the intention of getting in touch with me, and it should connect us. Then
Okay,
she took
that's
my
good.
hand, holding it between her own, and held eye contact as she said,
Thank you for this time, Kaio. I hope Chip recovers quickly.
A bunch of words jumped through my head, but my mouth never landed on any to say, so I just smiled and nodded. She beamed me back down to the ground, and without thinking about it, I just started walking
God, I'm loving this story.
back towards the compound. I felt like my entire being was buzzing from that whole encounter with Faye. Technically, I didn't know for sure what she was to me, but the idea of her being the love of my life certainly felt more pleasant than it had when we first met.
Hell
I
yeah.
had so much information to process from that meeting, but one thing struck me
I'm
most
calling
out
it.
of everything I'd learned about my path. An idea that came to me. Instinctively, I said out loud, Yorick, I know I might not be connected to you enough to get a clear answer, but was all this stuff with the handshakes actually just an excuse to get me into a position where I could help Phaestriel save my world from the Cuserax attacks? Of course not, my little cabbage.
Ooh.
Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar floating figure
There it
appear,
is!
but when I turned to look directly at it, it vanished, appearing somewhere else. I just kept walking and listened. There wasn't one single reason for the handshake. There were a bunch of things that could come from them. You're still getting the love and rival out of it I told you about. But really, the main point of it was to finally force you to save yourself from that grubby dumpster fire of a life you were living before.
But also, not so coincidentally, once someone figures out how to save their own life and actually follows through like you have, usually that gives them the power and drive to save other people, too. Fun little
Why is he talking like Jim Carrey?
system the way that works, huh, kumquat?
I laughed and shook my head. Got it. And let's go save some lives.
Oh, this was a great episode. And yes, we may have not got any new characters and stuff, but we got a lot of lore, and that is beautiful stuff.
Of all the
Sorry.
lore dump episodes I've ever made, that was probably the lore dumpiest. Anyway, I'm super
There's a lore dump, and then there's a lore landfill. And you just made one, so.
excited for where Starseed Psyche is going next, but on Monday I'm actually going to be putting out more of a classic kind of old school Popcross Studios video, because I realized it's been almost exactly 6 years since I made my Fantastic Four as Dragons video, before I ever even started my series of turning things into dragons, and what can I say, Marvel Rivals has really got me, and they just added the Fantastic Four, so why not? Anyway, besides that, that's all for today, except of course we're ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note, and the thought I want to leave you with is a quote from someone who I really love, and that's Alan Watts. And he said, stop measuring your days by degree of productivity and start experiencing them by degree of presence. There's nothing wrong with productivity, but if you don't learn to be present and enjoying the current moment while you're being productive towards a goal that you want to achieve, once you get that achievement, it'll be hard for you to be present with it then and enjoying it. So learn to be present now so that when the good things you're trying to create come, you can be present with them then too.
Exactly.
I hope that's inspiring. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Until then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.